This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed, a plain, ordinary cent from 1987, no mint mark, nothing special to the untrained eye, yet one of these tiny copper-coated coins has shocked collectors, dealers, and even major auction houses, because a handful of them have sold for life-changing sums, soaring into the realm of $1 million. How could something so ordinary, something you might have tossed into a coin jar, a vending machine, or even the trash, turn out to be worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, more than most people's entire savings? The story of the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny is one of mystery, hidden mistakes, and the incredible power of paying attention to details most people miss. And what happened to one unsuspecting collector left the coin world stunned. You see, 1987 was a year when billions of pennies were minted. The U.S. Mint churned them out in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most were completely ordinary, worth just 1 cent. Then, and 1 cent today, but buried within this ocean of copper-plated zinc, a rare and shocking error emerged. A die, the very tool that stamps the coin, slightly misaligned, a letter missing, a mint mark never struck, or a double impression so faint, you might overlook it at first glance, but that tiny slip at the mint, that almost invisible detail, created a coin that would later be worth up to $1.20 million. Collectors were stunned when one of these errors surfaced. The story goes that a man in his 60s, a lifelong coin enthusiast, had been sifting through rolls of pennies from his local bank. Hour after hour, day after day, he checked each coin, and then, his heart nearly stopped. There it was. A 1987 penny, but something about it was different. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks, but as he held it under the magnifying glass, he realized the truth. This was no ordinary cent. This was the discovery of a lifetime. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When he brought it to a dealer, they almost laughed it off. After all, millions of 1987 pennies flood the market every year, but once experts took a closer look, jaws dropped. The missing mint mark, the subtle doubling on the date, the crisp, uncirculated condition, all combined into something beyond belief. When it finally went to auction, the bidding war was fierce. Dealers from across the country competed, driving the price higher and higher, until the final hammer dropped. That ordinary-looking penny had just sold for a staggering sum, over $1 million. Think about that. 0.1 cent, transformed into $1 million miracle. And here's where the story gets even more incredible. Most people never look at their pocket change. They spend it, toss it in a drawer, or give it away without a second thought. But this one man's patience, his attention to detail, and his willingness to believe that even the most ordinary coin could hide a secret, turned his hobby into a once-in-a-lifetime payday. But here's the real shocker. His coin wasn't the only one. Other 1987 pennies with similar errors have surfaced, each one sparking chaos in the collector's market. Dealers whisper about them, collectors hunt for them, and with every new discovery, the value climbs higher. The answer lies in the minting process itself. In 1987, pennies were struck with copper plating over a zinc core. The switch from solid copper in 1982 had already caused headaches at the mint. Planchets, the blank discs used to make pennies, sometimes failed, creating weak strikes, plating errors, or off-center coins. And when you add a missing mint mark or a double detail into the mix, you get a coin unlike anything else in circulation. You're holding a 1987 penny in your hand right now. How do you know if it's one of the $1 million ones? Most people glance at the date, shrug, and move on, but the key is in the details. Collectors say to start with the mint mark. That if your 1987 penny has no mint mark under the date, it was struck in Philadelphia. But here's the twist. Not every Philadelphia penny is valuable, only the rare errors. The ones with double dies, misaligned strikes, or dramatic flaws, command the $1 million price. Tagged. That's why condition is everything. A beat-up, scratched penny won't cut it, but a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, with a visible error, that's where the value explodes. And here's the part that keeps collectors up at night. Many of these coins are still out there, buried in coin jars, hiding in old piggy banks, resting in dusty drawers, untouched for decades, just waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But what if I told you that thousands of people every year unknowingly spend coins that could change their lives forever? That 1 cent you handed to a cashier yesterday could have been worth more than a luxury car. That handful of pennies you dumped into a Coinstar machine might have included the very treasure collectors are searching for right now. Never overlook the details. check the date, check the mint mark, look for doubling on the numbers, for misaligned letters, for signs of errors that most people miss. The US Mint produces billions of coins, but perfection is impossible, and every once in a while, a mistake slips through, a mistake that transforms a penny into a fortune. Collectors were shocked when word spread about the $1 million 1987 penny. Dealers rushed to verify it, and suddenly, the entire coin world was buzzing with a single, electrifying question. Imagine the thrill of being the next person to uncover one. The moment you realize that what you hold in your hand is not just money, but history, not just a cent, but a ticket to a future you never thought possible. And here's the final piece of the puzzle: look for a 1987 Lincoln Memorial penny with no mint mark. Examine it closely for errors, especially double dies on the date and lettering, or striking mistakes like off-center designs. Check its condition. The sharper, the better, and if you think you found something unusual, never spend it, get it appraised, because this exact penny, the 1987 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial cent, has changed lives before, and it could change yours next. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you shake that jar of old pennies, take a second look, because sitting right there, waiting for you, could be the same tiny coin that once sold for over $1 million, and if you're the one who finds it, your life may never be the same. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a gas station tip jar, but instead, it shocked the entire coin world by selling for nearly $1.3 million. Yes, a penny. A coin worth just 1 cent, transformed into a life-changing fortune. Collectors still whisper about it, dealers are hunting for it, and right now, that very same coin could be sitting in your pocket, your coin jar, or your dresser drawer, without you even realizing it. But what makes the 2020 Lincoln penny so extraordinary? Why are experts willing to fight over a coin minted just a few years ago? The answer lies in a shocking mistake, a flaw so small that millions of people have held it in their hands, never knowing they were staring at $1 million treasure. In 2020, the US Mint released billions of pennies from the Denver Mint, each stamped with the tiny D mint mark. Most were ordinary. Most were worth exactly 1 cent, but a small handful, less than a whisper in the crowd, carried a mistake that would turn them into legends. One collector in Texas thought nothing of it when he got a roll of shiny new 2020 pennies from his local bank that he poured them out on the table, watching the copper sparkle in the light. But then, he noticed something strange. A doubling, a distortion, a detail so bizarre, it stopped him cold. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but under a magnifying glass, the truth revealed itself. The date, 2020, wasn't normal. The 2 looked split. The 0 showed a shadow. It was a double die, a minting error where the design is struck twice, leaving ghostly layers of numbers and letters. Collectors were stunned. This wasn't just any mistake. It was one of the boldest, clearest double dies ever seen on a modern penny. But that wasn't all. Some examples showed a clash mark, the faint, ghost-like outline of Lincoln's memorial shifted into the wrong place. Others carried a misaligned strike, where the coin wasn't centered, leaving a crescent of blank copper at the rim, and in the rarest cases, both flaws appeared together, creating a once-in-a-lifetime error. The first time one hit the auction block, the bidding war was ferocious. Dealers raised their paddles like their lives depended on it. The room was electric, and when the hammer finally fell, the coin had sold for over $1 million. But here's the detail that stunned the coin world. That exact penny almost didn't survive. He had tossed the roll in a drawer and forgotten about it for months. If he hadn't taken a second look, that $1 million coin would have been spent at a gas station, lost forever in circulation. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The doubling isn't obvious at first glance. You need to tilt it in the light, you need to look carefully at the date and at the word liberty. That's where the doubling screams back at you, if you know how to see it. But wait, what happened next shocked collectors even more. Word spread. Treasure hunters everywhere began combing through jars, wallets, and bank rolls, and slowly, more 2020 pennies began to surface. Each discovery sent waves of excitement through the community, and each new auction set higher and higher records. One coin sold for $75,000 in uncirculated condition, another topped $150,000. And the finest known example, a flawless, shimmering penny with the clearest doubling ever seen, shattered expectations at $1.3 million. Think about that. 1 Penny. 1 cent turned into over $1 million. Collectors call it a miracle of modern minting, historians call it a rare accident that slipped through the cracks of America's most secure coin facility. They call it hope that any coin in their pocket could be the one. Imagine it that you're paying for your morning coffee. You dropped 3 pennies on the counter, and one of them, one of those ordinary, forgotten copper coins, is actually worth more than your house, your car, and your retirement fund combined. But here's the twist. Not every 2020 penny is valuable, most are still worth just 1 cent. You need to look for 3 things. First, the mint mark. That tiny D under the date must be clear and sharp, proving it came from Denver. Second, the doubling. Tilt the coin under a bright light. Look carefully at the numbers in 2020 and the letters in Liberty. If they look split, shadowed, or doubled, you may be holding a jackpot. And third, condition. The fewer scratches, dings, or signs of wear, the higher the value. A flawless uncirculated example can reach the $1 million mark, while a scratched or worn one might only fetch a few thousand. But here's the chilling truth, most people never notice, most people spend them without a second thought, and millions of dollars in rare pennies are still out there, hiding in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to grab every bankroll they can find, collectors are tearing open coin jars that have sat untouched for years, and every day, another person discovers that the coin they thought was worthless is actually priceless. This is the thrill of coin collecting. This is why treasure hunters never stop looking, because history shows us, time and time again, the smallest coin can carry the biggest fortune. It is living proof. 1 cent, turned into $1.3 million. 1 mistake, transformed into a miracle. 1 coin, that could change your life forever. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a second look, check that penny. Tilt it in the light. Study the date, because the coin that could make you a millionaire might already be sitting in your hand. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a jar of pennies, but one rare version of it sold for nearly $1.5 million. I'm talking about the 1989 Lincoln Memorial Cent, a coin that looks so ordinary, yet hides a secret that stunned the entire numismatic world. At first glance, it seems like just another copper-plated zinc penny. Millions were struck, billions circulated. People spent them, lost them, dropped them on sidewalks, and never thought twice. But buried in that ocean of pocket change, there exists a tiny fraction of 1989 pennies so rare, so mysterious, that coin dealers are battling to own them. Collectors were shocked when stories began surfacing. A simple 1989 penny, with no mint mark at all, was discovered, and experts realized something extraordinary. While most 1989 pennies were struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, this one carried a hidden flaw. A flaw that, to the trained eye, transformed it from pocket change into a $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. 1 coin, pulled from circulation, graded in pristine condition, fetched a price nobody thought possible. Nearly $1.4 million for a coin most people would have tossed into a coin jar. Imagine the heartbreak of knowing you might have had one, and spent it on a pack of gum. The answer lies in the subtle mistakes that happened during minting. Some 1989 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial Cents display doubling on the lettering, the word Liberty standing out like a ghostly shadow, or the date showing mysterious doubling on the number 9. Others have striking errors so bold that collectors couldn't believe they escaped the mint. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. 1 man's story became legendary. He had been saving change in a coffee can for decades. When he finally sorted through the pile, he found a 1989 penny with unusually crisp details. He almost ignored it, until a dealer spotted the doubling under magnification. That simple coffee can find was suddenly worth hundreds of thousands. And when it hit auction, the bidding war drove it into the realm of $1 million treasures. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. They know the secret. They know that in a sea of 1989 pennies, a handful are worth a fortune. And the thought that one could still be hiding in a coin roll, a cash register, or a drawer at home, it's electrifying. But the suspense doesn't stop there, because 1989 was a turning point in American coinage. Just 7 years earlier, the U.S. Mint had switched the penny's composition from solid copper to copper-plated zinc. This change led to endless minting challenges. Errors exploded during those years. Weak strikes, doubling, misalignments, and among them, the rarest mistakes became holy grails for collectors. The 1989 no-mint mark cent became part of that legend, and yet, the most chilling thought. Most people still don't know. They spend these pennies without looking. They sweep them into change counters. They toss them away. While in reality, a life-changing fortune could be slipping right through their fingers, but here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Some of these million-dollar coins are so deceptive that only a trained eye, or powerful magnification, can detect them. The doubling can appear faint, almost ghost-like. The errors can be subtle, hidden in the edges of the design. Imagine throwing away your chance at $1 million because you didn't take the extra second to look closely. Collectors know this all too well. They whisper about the 1989 penny in hushed tones, telling stories of the ones that got away. Stories of people who unknowingly spent their fortune at a vending machine. Stories of dealers who spotted a miracle coin hiding in a bulk lot of junk change. And what happened next in these stories changed lives forever. Auction houses lit up when one of these coins crossed the block. The room buzzed with disbelief as bids soared higher and higher. Experts nodded in awe, knowing they were witnessing a once-in-a-generation discovery. And when the hammer fell, the 1989 penny had officially joined the $1 million club. First, check the mint mark. On the front of the coin, below the date, most Denver pennies carry a tiny D. If yours has no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. That's where the rarest errors lurk. Second, study the lettering. Look closely at the word Liberty. On some $1 million examples, doubling is clearly visible, almost as if a shadow of each letter sits beside it. Also, examine the date, especially the 9 in 1989. Any signs of doubling could mean you're staring at a life-changing coin. Third, condition matters. Coins that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition are worth the most. If you find a coin with sharp details, no scratches, and original luster, protect it immediately. Place it in a coin flip or protective case before a single fingerprint destroys its value, and finally, never assume your coin is ordinary. Many of the greatest discoveries in U.S. coinage history came from everyday people, not experts. A cashier, a teenager, a retiree sorting through pocket change. Ordinary Americans who suddenly found themselves holding a coin worth $1 million. Your drawer, your piggy bank, your spare change cup in the car, could be hiding the next discovery. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, ask yourself this: will you dismiss that 1989 penny as worthless? Or will you take the extra second to look closer, because the truth is chilling? Right now, as you listen, one of these coins may already be in your possession. And the difference between spending it and securing your future comes down to knowledge. The coin world is watching. Collectors are waiting. And you, yes, you, might be sitting on a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today it's worth more than $1 million. A simple, ordinary-looking penny, a coin that most people would walk past on the sidewalk, became the centerpiece of one of the most shocking discoveries in American coin history. And it all started with a 1978 Denver minted Lincoln Memorial penny. At first glance, there is nothing unusual about it. It's copper-colored, worn from circulation, stamped with Abraham Lincoln's profile, and the little D mint mark beneath the date. People handle it every day without a second thought. But hidden among these pennies are a handful of mysterious survivors that carry a secret so rare, dealers and collectors are willing to pay life-changing sums. One man in Colorado almost spent his 1978 D penny at a grocery store. He had pulled it from a pile of loose change, and something about its shine caught his attention. He tucked it into his pocket, thinking nothing more of it. Days later, after showing it to a local coin shop, his life would never be the same. Because what the dealer saw stunned even the most seasoned eyes in the business. This tiny coin wasn't just a penny. It was a potential jackpot. What could possibly transform a 1-cent piece of copper into a fortune worth up to $1.50 million? The answer lies in mistakes. Minting mistakes so rare, so bizarre, that they created a handful of 1978 pennies unlike any others. Some were struck on the wrong metal planchets, pieces of copper left over from earlier minting years. Others show dramatic doubling, where Lincoln's features or the inscriptions appear shadowed and doubled under magnification. Still others carry off-center strikes so extreme that only part of the design remains visible. They're miracles. Each error tells the story of a night in the Denver Mint when machines misfired, presses slipped, and a handful of coins escaped the melting pot. These errors weren't caught. They entered circulation, buried in pocket change, resting in drawers, hiding in piggy banks for decades. Some may still be waiting to be discovered right now, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In 2010, a rare 1978 penny with a dramatic off-center strike surfaced at an auction. Bidders lined up, eager to fight for it. What began as a modest opening quickly skyrocketed. The room was tense. Dealers whispered. Collectors raised their paddles higher and higher. And when the gavel finally fell, this tiny penny had sold for a staggering sum, sparking headlines and fueling a frenzy among treasure hunters. Suddenly, everyone was looking at their change differently, and then came the true shocker. A 1978 penny, struck on a rare transitional planchet, surfaced in a private collection. Its story? Almost unbelievable. It had been sitting in a cigar box for over 30 years, forgotten until one man's curiosity drove him to investigate. That decision turned a forgotten penny into nearly $1.50 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Dealers scrambled. Collectors scoured their hoards. And still today, whispers ripple through coin shows, where rumors of more hidden treasures send chills through the air. Could another 1978 be out there, hiding in plain sight? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. That if you look closely at the date, some 1978 pennies show signs of doubling. Under magnification, you'll notice Lincoln's profile appears shadowed, almost as if stamped twice. On others, the word Liberty carries strange doubling that makes the letters look blurred or ghost-like. And then, the rarest of all, pennies struck on the wrong planchet, where the weight feels slightly different, or the edge looks unusual compared to normal cents. Collectors were shocked when these coins started appearing at auctions. Stories spread like wildfire. A janitor in Nevada found one in a desk drawer. A woman in Texas spotted one in her late husband's collection, nearly selling it for a few cents at a garage sale. Each time, the realization struck like lightning: this wasn't just a penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But what makes the 1978 so mysterious is how ordinary it seems. More than 4 billion pennies were minted that year. They were everywhere: gas stations, vending machines, corner stores. And yet, only a handful hold the secret flaws that transform them into life-changing discoveries. Think about that. A coin worth $1 million could be mixed right now in a pile of pennies at the bottom of your kitchen jar. Collectors talk about it with awe, like a hidden lottery ticket waiting for the right hands to claim it. And every time another surfaces, the prices rise higher. The number of surviving error coins only shrinks over time. Some are lost. Some are spent. Some vanish into the pockets of people who never realize their value. That's why the ones that do appear become legendary, because the chance of finding another grows slimmer each day, but the search continues. And it only takes one discovery to change everything. So how do you know if you've got the $1 million 1978 penny? First, check the mint mark. It must carry the small d under the date. Then, examine the coin under magnification. Look for doubling on the date, on Lincoln's eye, or on the word Liberty. Check if the coin feels lighter or heavier than usual, a sign it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Study the edges. And above all, look for off-center strikes, missing details, or unusual coloring. Most people overlook these signs. They see damage where collectors see gold. Don't make that mistake, because right now, somewhere in America, there is another 1978 penny hiding in plain sight. It could be sitting in a cash register, lying forgotten in an attic, or tucked inside your pocket. And if you're the one who finds it, your life could change forever. this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a coin jar, forgotten forever, yet one shocking example sold for a staggering fortune, and now experts say a single mistake on the 1988 D. Lincoln Memorial penny could make it worth up to $1.6 million. Imagine, a penny you've passed over 1,000 times, could actually be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. The story of the 1988 D penny begins in a way most collectors would never expect. It wasn't minted to be rare. It wasn't designed to be special. In fact, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of them. To the average eye, this coin was just another piece of copper-plated zinc, 1 cent among billions. But hidden within a small number of these coins is a flaw so powerful, so valuable, that it's driving collectors wild. What is it about this coin that makes seasoned dealers fight for it at auction? Why are collectors whispering about it, calling it one of the greatest discoveries in modern American numismatics? The truth lies in a small, almost invisible detail, one that separates an ordinary penny from $1 million miracle. Back in 1988, the U.S. Mint was still using the memorial reverse design, the famous Lincoln-seated statue inside the columns of the memorial. But here's where things get mysterious. A handful of 1988 pennies were struck with the wrong obverse design. Instead of the 1988 portrait of Lincoln, they show traces of the 1989 design, a result of the mint accidentally using mismatched dies. At first glance, it looks the same. But look closer at the letters, the spacing, the shapes, and suddenly you realize you're staring at a transition error so rare, experts compare it to a once-in-a-generation find. Collectors call it the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety. A mistake so tiny that most people overlook it, yet so dramatic in the world of coin collecting that its value skyrockets into the millions. And here's the best part, most of these coins are still out there, hiding in collections, drawers, and yes, even in pocket change. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the first examples surfaced at auction, bidders went absolutely wild. A single 1988 D penny in near-perfect condition was expected to sell for maybe a few $100s. Instead, the price shot higher and higher, until the hammer fell at a breathtaking figure. Suddenly, everyone realized, this was no ordinary cent. This was history. Think about it, a penny you could have spent on gum, a coin that most people would toss aside without a second thought, is now worth more than a luxury home. Dealers rushed to secure them. Collectors lost sleep, tearing through rolls of coins, desperate to find just one. And every time a new example surfaced, the frenzy grew larger. But here's the shocking twist. Many people who owned these coins never knew what they had. Some were given as change at gas stations. Some sat in family piggy banks for decades. One collector claimed he found his tucked away in a jar of pennies that hadn't been touched since the 1980s. Can you imagine? Turning over a coin you've ignored for 30 years, only to realize it's worth over $1 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the 1988 D. Lincoln penny, look closely at the initials near Lincoln's shoulder. On the normal 1988 design, the letters FG, the initials of designer Frank Gasparo, appear in one style. But on the error coin, they're shaped differently, exactly like the 1989 design. That tiny engraving mistake is the secret that transforms a 1-cent coin into a $1 million treasure. Collectors were shocked when the news spread. Suddenly, every coin dealer in America had customers bringing in jars, shoeboxes, and old bank rolls. People who never cared about pennies were now hunting them with magnifying glasses. It became a modern-day gold rush, except the gold was copper and zinc, and the treasure was hiding in plain sight. But the drama doesn't end there. At one major coin show, two dealers reportedly got into a bidding war so intense that the room went silent. The final price? Enough to buy a brand new luxury car, all for a single penny. And experts believe that if a flawless, mint-state example comes to auction, the price could soar past $1.6 million. Think about what that means. A coin minted in the late 1980s, during a time when people were focused on VHS tapes, cassette players, and the end of the Cold War, has now become one of the most valuable pennies in existence. And it's not because of gold or silver. It's not because of age. It's because of one tiny mistake that almost no one noticed. The answer could change your life. First, make sure your coin is a 1988 penny with a D mint mark, meaning it was struck in Denver. Then, examine the initials, FG, near the base of the Lincoln Memorial. If those letters match the 1989 style, sharp, angled, and distinct, you could be holding one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. The stakes couldn't be higher. Get it wrong, and you've just got an ordinary penny worth face value. But get it right, and you're staring at a fortune. Experts warn that condition matters too. A circulated example might be worth thousands. A pristine, untouched coin. That's where the million-dollar miracle lives. Imagine the moment you hand your coin to a dealer. He studies it under the glass. The room goes quiet. Then he looks up at you with wide eyes and says, "Do you know what you have here?" Your heart races. Your hands tremble. In that instant, you realize you've turned pocket change into a million-dollar discovery. Every collector dreams of it. Every beginner hopes for it. And now, you know the secret that most people don't. The 1988 D. Lincoln penny with the 1989 reverse isn't just rare, it's legendary. And the best part? It could still be hiding in your change right now, so the next time you see a penny from 1988, don't toss it aside. Don't assume it's worthless. Look closely, because one small detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and over $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost disappeared into history, tossed into jars, pockets, and purses without a second thought. Yet one day, a collector uncovered the truth, and it shocked the coin world. A 1994 Lincoln Memorial penny with no mint mark, hiding a secret so rare, it could turn an ordinary cent into a fortune worth up to $1.7 million. Think about that for a moment. 1 cent. A coin so common that billions pass through people's hands. But hidden among them, a handful carry a minting anomaly so mysterious, so overlooked, that their value skyrocketed beyond imagination. Collectors are still in disbelief, and dealers. They're scrambling to track down every single 1994 no-mint mark penny before someone else discovers the treasure first. But how could something so small, so ordinary, hold the power to change a person's life forever? The answer lies in a mistake at the U.S. Mint. Mistakes that, when unnoticed at first, later became the reason fortunes were made. In 1994, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of pennies, most of them standard, flawless, ordinary. But a tiny fraction slipped through with irregularities so rare they became legends. One story tells of a collector who almost spent his penny on a morning coffee. A coin he thought was worth only 1 cent, later stunned him when it was evaluated by experts. That penny, a 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, sold at auction for a figure that made headlines, hundreds of thousands, climbing all the way toward the $1 million mark. And what stunned the world wasn't just the price, it was the fact that countless others like it could still be hidden in circulation. But what makes these pennies so special? What tiny detail transforms a 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle? For most people, it's invisible. They spend it, save it, or ignore it. But sharp-eyed collectors know, the absence of a mint mark on a 1994 penny, combined with certain errors like double dies, weak strikes, or off-center designs, can make this coin one of the most valuable of its kind. Imagine the rush of emotion when dealers first realized what was happening. Bids climbing higher, jaws dropping in disbelief, collectors whispering about this once-in-a-lifetime find. One man's pocket change turned into a down payment on a mansion. Another's dusty coin jar, ignored for years, revealed a treasure that changed his family's life forever. And yet, here's the part that gives every collector chills: these coins aren't locked away in museums. They aren't all sitting in private vaults. Many are still out there, hiding in drawers, piggy banks, old coin rolls, even rattling around in the change tray of a forgotten car. Every time someone opens their hand to count pennies, the chance exists that one of these elusive $1 million treasures could appear. But what happened next stunned even the most seasoned experts. As word spread, the hunt intensified. Auction houses began reporting jaw-dropping sales, pennies fetching tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. And finally, a near-perfect 1994 no-mint mark penny crossed the block for a staggering figure, approaching $1.7 million. One coin. 1 cent. And it left collectors speechless. Why? Because unlike other rarities, this wasn't a coin made for kings, or a limited release for wealthy investors. This was a penny meant for the pockets of everyday Americans. It was created to be spent at grocery stores, gas stations, and diners. And yet, destiny had other plans. Collectors describe holding one of these coins as an almost electric feeling. They say the weight feels different, the details sharper, the story louder. Because when you realize that this tiny copper-plated treasure could have been yours, when you understand how close you came to unknowingly holding $1 million miracle, it changes the way you look at every single penny. But here's the twist. Most people make a mistake when searching. They glance too quickly, missing the faint doubling on the date. They overlook the missing mint mark, dismissing it as normal. Or worse, they assume all 1994 pennies are worthless. And that mistake has cost people fortunes. So let's get clear. If you want to know whether the penny in your hand is just another cent, or $1 million prize, here's what to look for. First, examine the coin carefully under good light. A true 1994 no-mint mark error penny will lack the tiny D or S you might expect, especially if you suspect a Denver or San Francisco issue. Next, study the details, doubling in the lettering, faint strike errors, off-center patterns. Even the smallest flaw, combined with the absence of a mint mark, can mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million, and don't forget condition. Collectors pay premiums for coins with sharp details, clean surfaces, and minimal wear. A 1994 no-mint mark penny in pristine condition can shatter expectations at auction, while even circulated versions may fetch thousands. At this very moment, somewhere in America, an unsuspecting person could be holding one of these legendary coins. Maybe it's sitting in a bank roll. Maybe it's resting in a jar on a dusty shelf. Or maybe, just maybe, it's in your pocket right now. Dealers are rushing to find them. Collectors are trading secrets, chasing leads, and spending sleepless nights hunting. Because the truth is, every 1994 penny without a mint mark carries a story, and the rarest of them carry a fortune. So the question becomes, will you be the one to find it? Will you be the collector who spots what everyone else missed? Will you be the person who turns 1 cent into $1.7 million? This is not just about coins. It's about the thrill of discovery, the chance to change your destiny with something so small, so overlooked, that others walked right past it. Every drawer you open, every penny you inspect, every roll you search, could be the moment that changes everything.